The sky above the shattered valley glowed with the fading sparks of battle. Smoke curled upward in long trails as the last rumbling echoes of distant explosions faded. The war between the human expeditionary force and the alien coalition had reached another violent turning point. In the middle of this ruined landscape stood a lone soldier named Ray. His armor was cracked, his pulse racing, but his resolve steady. He had survived worse than this, and he knew survival was never guaranteed. Ray scanned the field until something drew his attention. A soft flicker of light pulsed weakly from beneath a fallen transport craft. It was faint, like the dying heartbeat of some cosmic beast. His instincts told him to move cautiously, but another part of him, the part that believed no living being deserved to die alone, pushed him forward. He tightened his grip on his gear and hurried toward the light dot. As he approached, he discovered the source. A young alien woman, clearly of noble blood, judging by her ornate armor and crest, lay pinned beneath a fragment of the wreckage. Her skin glowed with an iridescent shimmer, and her long silver hair fanned across the ground like strands of broken moonlight. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes were closed. She was dying. Ray dropped to a knee beside her. He lifted a piece of the debris with all the strength he had left. When the weight shifted free, she gasped in pain and her eyes shot open. They were bright and luminous, filled with fear and fading hope. He spoke softly. He introduced himself and told her she was safe for the moment. She answered in a weak voice and said her name was Lyra. She explained that her ship had been targeted because she was the princess of her people. She had tried to negotiate peace, but had been betrayed in the chaos of the battle. Now, she whispered, that her body was failing. Without her species-specific transfusion, she would not survive. Ray knew the odds. Humans and her kind were not biologically compatible. No data suggested a human could help. Yet he saw her hand tremble as she reached toward him. Her voice cracked as she said she did not want to die alone. Ray felt something stir within him. Valor, perhaps. Compassion, maybe. Or something deeper. He lifted her gently and carried her toward an abandoned bunker nearby. The entrance was half hidden by debris, but intact enough to provide shelter. Inside, a faint blue emergency glow illuminated the cracked walls. He set her down carefully and worked to stabilize her vitals with the limited field equipment he had. Nothing worked. Her pulse weakened further. She looked at him again. Her voice shook as she told him her people had legends of distant cousins across the stars. Blood related in ancient times. It was a myth shared in her childhood. She believed it foolish until now. She met his eyes and asked if he would help her, regardless of the risk. She said that even if it failed, she wanted to meet her fate with courage. Ray hesitated. Giving blood in wartime was not unusual, but doing so across species was madness. Still, he saw the way her eyes dimmed each second. If he walked away, she would be gone. If he tried, the worst outcome remained the same. The choice felt obvious to him now. He nodded and prepared the transfusion. The process was crude. He connected the lines and steadied his breathing. His heartbeat echoed in his ears as he opened the valve. Human blood began to flow toward her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she screamed in pain, and her body arched. Ray nearly shut off the line, but she gripped his arm and begged him to continue. He kept it going, watching her breathing shift unevenly. Minutes passed. Then something miraculous occurred. Her skin, once dim and dull, flickered with new light. Her pulse steadied. Her breathing slowed but grew stronger. Her eyes opened again, and her gaze locked onto his. She looked dazed, confused, but very much alive. She whispered that she felt warmth in her veins, a new energy, a new strength. Ray leaned back, dizzy from the loss of blood. He had given more than regulation allowed, but seeing her alive made the weakness worthwhile. Lyra sat up slowly and examined her hands. She whispered that something had changed inside her. She felt connected to him in a way she could not explain. Her body accepted his blood not as foreign matter, but as a catalyst, a bridge, a unifying force. Ray felt uneasy, yet amazed. Outside the bunker, the distant machines of war continued their movements. Ray knew they had little time. He needed to move her somewhere safer. Yet when he tried to stand, he nearly collapsed. Lyra reached out and steadied him. Her strength had returned faster than expected. She guided him to sit again and said they would move only when he recovered. A silence settled between them. Not awkward, but deep. Her eyes lingered on him with a strange mixture of respect and curiosity. She asked why he would risk his life for. Someone he had only just met. Ray told her simply that life was life. No matter the form, it deserved a chance. She stared for a long moment, as if weighing his words against every belief she had been taught. Then she said something that made Ray freeze. She said that among her people, sharing blood was sacred. It was a bond stronger than any vow. A union of spirit. A bridge between destinies. For her culture, it was not done lightly. It carried meaning. He opened his mouth to reassure her it had been medical necessity. But before he could speak, she smiled softly. She said she understood, but could not ignore what it represented. As his strength returned enough for him to stand, they moved together through the valley. She supported him until he regained balance. They walked across scorched ground toward a ridge that offered shelter and vantage. Ray scanned the horizon for threats. Lyra scanned it for signals from her people. While they stood there, a strange sound filled the air. A harmonic hum that vibrated through the ground. Ray recognized it. A transport from her kingdom. She lifted her gaze, and her eyes shimmered with emotion. She raised her hand, and the craft adjusted course. It landed nearby with a rumble. A squad of royal guards emerged, their armor gleaming and their expressions a mixture of relief and disbelief. When they saw Lyra alive, they dropped to one knee. She stepped forward and told them Ray had saved her. The guards looked at him with awe and confusion. One of them said, "No human should have been able to help her survive." Lyra responded firmly. She declared Ray was now bound to her by life and spirit. The guards stood silent, unsure how to react. Ray shifted uncomfortably. He had not expected such a declaration. He tried to explain, but Lyra raised her hand and smiled. She said she understood his confusion, yet there was truth in what had happened. Her people valued actions more than intent. His blood now flowed in her veins. It had awakened in her a strength she had never known. She told the guards he was to be honored. The guards ushered them aboard the transport. Inside, Ray felt the weight of exhaustion settle over him. Lyra stayed beside him and held his arm lightly, as if guarding him from collapse. The craft took off and soared toward the capital of her kingdom. When they arrived, the city shimmered like a crown of living crystal. Towers of translucent stone reached toward the sky. Walkways glowed beneath their feet. The people gathered in surprise as their princess emerged alive. Many had believed she was lost. Whispers filled the air. When they saw Ray walking beside her, the whispers grew louder. At the palace gates, a tall figure stood waiting. The king. His armor bore marks of battles long past. His expression, carved with stone-like dignity, shifted the moment he saw his daughter. Emotion flooded his features. He moved forward and embraced her with trembling hands. Ray stepped back to give them space. When the king regained his composure, Lyra told him everything. She spoke of the betrayal against her convoy. She spoke of her near death. Then she spoke of the human warrior who had given his blood. The king looked at Ray with intense scrutiny. His gaze held no hostility, but deep contemplation. He approached Ray and asked if it was true. Ray nodded. The king studied him quietly before placing a hand on his shoulder. He declared that Ray had shown courage beyond measure. Such an act, he said, would not be forgotten by their kingdom. The people around them murmured with rising respect. The king ordered that Ray be given a place of honor. Yet as the days passed, something far stranger occurred. Lyra visited him daily, at first to thank him, then to speak with him, then simply to be near him. Their conversations were long. Topics ranged from war to peace to childhood memories. Ray found himself drawn to her. Her curiosity about humans amused him. Her determination inspired him. Her kindness surprised him. Lyra felt a deeper pull. Her body responded to his presence, not with dependence, but harmony. Her strength had increased. Since the transfusion, her senses sharpened, her energy renewed. The royal healers confirmed the change. They said her body had transformed, weaving his human resilience into her alien biology. They could not explain it fully, but they all agreed it was unprecedented. Word spread across the kingdom. Many whispered that the princess and the human were now linked by fate. Some respected it. Some questioned it. Few dared challenge it. Ray tried to distance himself at first, believing he was causing political tension. But Lyra refused to allow that. She told him he had saved more than her life. He had given her a future she thought lost. One evening the king summoned both of them to a private chamber. He stood with solemn grace and told them recent events had stirred the council. Many believed Ray and Lyra were bound by ancient legend, a union of two bloodlines once separated by time. He asked them directly what they felt. Ray spoke honestly. He